Okay, we're going to begin. For those of you who I haven't met, I'm David Hefner. I'm your Executive Vice President for Clinical Affairs, and with me is
Gretchen Caughman. I'm the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost. Thank you so much for being with us, both online and in person.
So we're very excited because we're here to do the spring 2012 version of the Town Hall and catch up what's been happening over the past few months. So we will build on that from what we went through prior to this, and I think what I'm going to do is stand right over your shoulder and turn this way. And we're going to start with excellence begins with our people, right? You're part of those people that are great, so we're going to touch on some of our great people and the accomplishments that are happening. One kind of happening has been the American Heart Association Heart Walk. How many of you participated in that? Raise your hand. And those of you online, we can see you raising your hand also. Thank you. Very good. As you can see, what we raised was almost $17,000. Just to put it in context, $19,000 was what we raised last year. So you can see that by coming together as a new kind of virtual team, we raised $100,000 more, essentially. We set a target for ourselves this year of $50,000 and even exceeded that by a large amount. So great work by a number of people, you included. Along with that, at the same time, so we had the Heart Walk. The day of the Heart Walk was rained out, but there was an analog version of pediatric cardiology that was occurring. It was called Heart and Soul, and they were raising money for the Children's Hospital, the pediatric cardiology program. And lo and behold, during the hour break and the rainstorms, they held their walk. That's what it looks like. And they also raised money, and it went to beneficiaries such as we have listed there on the screen. So these are good works by many people that are benefiting the patients and families that we serve. Also underwriting aspects of research and education. And many of you also participated in the United Way. We had a very short run this year of mobilizing, just 27 days, but you can see there almost $66,000 was raised there for the region. For United Way. Again, great generosity of both heart, spirit, and wallet by our employees, staff, and faculty. So thanks for participating that way. And then let's just touch on a few different aspects of excellence that's occurring with our people. This by no means captures all of it that is occurring. This is a smattering that we'd like to share with you over the last quarter of what's been happening. First, we have Dr. Ray. I'm going to, let's see. No, never mind. So Dr. Ray, Lifetime Achievement Award that she's been acknowledged for. Dr. Martin running our Southeast Georgia clinical campuses. Again, she's been acknowledged for a Women of Distinction by the Girl Scouts. Dr. Harbachuk, the Willis Hurst Teaching Award. Dr. Murphy, the Fuller Callaway Professional Chair Award. And then we have two medical students who are receiving acknowledgments. One of them is one of 10 finalists in a competition that essentially acknowledges and awards people by virtue of going to Central America, in this case, and serving the underserved in third world areas. And what he would win if he were the winner would be an iPad, and he doesn't get to play on the iPad. He would have to take the iPad with him and blog back to everyone else online. Here's what we're doing, and here are the differences we're making. And then Mr. Bykowski, again, a medical student, one of two winners. This one, he won as designing a clinical effectiveness application for iPhones. That tests skills, and again, one of two winners. That's our next generation that is definitely proving out excellence in a whole new way. Some of the people that we are bringing in and that are leading the way, Dr. Motti, new Director of Urologic Oncology from University Hospitals in Cleveland and Case Western. He does robotic surgery, has only been in the area for a little over a month and is already extremely busy. These are people across the region that are seeking out these kinds of services. Kimberly Allen has been appointed to Child Life Council Board of Directors. And then Dr. Edwards has been appointed Chief of Minimally Invasive Surgery. So if you need surgery by chance and you want minimal or no scarring, he and the team are the people to see. Again, this is leading edge surgery. Dr. Oberke has been named the interim chair of the Department of Oral Biology, and Dr. Metzer has stepped in as the director of the graduate programs in oral biology. And then someone within our ranks, Jim Rush, who has served as counsel inside the health system, has stepped up to a new appointment, new position that we created, which is the Chief Integrity Officer. So think of all the different aspects that you would want us to be managing and compliant with and demonstrating to ourselves and the rest of the world that we in fact are managing our enterprise integrity in all the different senses of the word. He stepped into that role as well as continuing to do some of our legal work for us. So great accomplishment there. Two people that are leaving, Mr. Bose, who served ably as our Chief Administrative Officer across the enterprise, is returning to Connecticut to work with the Board of Regents there to oversee all their new financial affairs aspects. And then Mr. Romer, who started here for many years in the hospital setting as the Chief Financial Officer, stepped in to the enterprise role of our Chief Financial Officer, has been recruited away to a health system in central Pennsylvania, and he will be leaving the end of April for that. So please wish these people well. They've done a great job for us, particularly during this past couple of years as we've been involved in a lot of integration work. New people coming on board. Charlie Enix is someone who has been serving an enterprise Chief Information Officer role at University of Mississippi. And prior to that, by the way, did it at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which is one of the 3 largest children's hospitals in the world. He served an enterprise role there, academic, research, and patient care. So here's a man who's been doing that. We recruited him away. He wants to come to Augusta. He and his family. He'll be joining us the start of May, so it's a great recruit. Brigadier General Jeff Foley, he is retired out of the military. He's been at ASU working on facilities, and he's agreed, as the presidents have, to stretch himself. And while he's working inside the ASU aspects, he will stretch himself to work on the military and global affairs aspects that many people are knocking on our door, wanting us to participate in different ways, and we haven't really had the skill sets in a direct sense to make those connections and bridge building activities. He's agreed to step in and help us with that. Chip Manson used to be the CIO, Chief Information Officer, inside the hospital setting years ago in the early 90s. He left and went to Augusta State University and has been running their IT applications and services there. He also has agreed to double hat himself and stretch across both campuses and run all of our shared services. Shared services like help desk, email services and systems, infrastructure support. Those are the kinds of things that he'll now take on, which is, again, a great job because we need these kinds of skill sets that can cross over some of our traditional silos. And then a new face, Mr. Stephen Scott, is going to join us in the middle of May to be our Chief Operating Officer of the Medical Center. He's been serving in almost a like role at Oregon Health Sciences University, and we've recruited him away to join us here, so we're very excited about that. And then almost last, this is us right after the holidays where we had an opportunity to go across to the Georgia War Veterans Nursing Home and with their executive director serve lunch to those who have served us. Something little we could do, but we really appreciated it. We are welcome with open arms if you have a chance, or if you're in Augusta anytime and you want to step inside, they would welcome you too with open arms. So great veterans who've served us well. I'm going to ask our provost if she would take this slide and the next couple of sections for us.
Great, thank you. These are just a couple of images from what was really a wonderful event. It was the culmination of our celebration of Black History Month, and this year nationally, that celebration was in the theme of celebrating Black women in American culture and history. So we had really the privilege of a great noon performance, both visual and performing arts. It was wonderful. You see the beautiful quilts there. We had many of the folks from within our family in the enterprise, as well as those out in the larger community who have such great talent and were willing to share it with us. So that was wonderful. This is one of a number of months throughout the year in which we focus on and celebrate, along with the national theme, particular aspects of our diverse culture. And it's really important, I think, that everybody get involved, because for one thing, it's just a lot of fun. There are a lot of different activities to get involved in. This is sponsored and out really of the coordination and work of Dr. Kent Guyan's office, which is an enterprise-wide office of diversity and inclusion. And so I urge you to keep up with it when we send things out, email and on the web, to take advantage of some of the various things that are going to be available to us throughout the year. Talk just a little bit about research. As everybody knows, we have lots of great research going on. It's not really possible to point at everything that's been done, even in the short period of time since we talked with you last. But just want to come up with a couple of items, one of which we actually have today, a sample that you can have as you leave today, and that represents the commercialization of a number of years of work by Dr. Steve Hsu, who began working with green tea before green tea was cool, so to speak, before it was everywhere, and talking about it in everything from cosmetics to the tea of drink of choice. He had spent a number of years looking at the beneficial aspects of phytochemicals in green tea, and also being entrepreneurial at heart, has spun up a company, which is something that is an outgrowth of our own life science business technology incubator group, which allows faculty investigators to take their ideas that they've begun as more bench or clinical research and then take them into a commercial venue. And so this Mighty Flow is both a gum and a lozenge, and we have gum for you. It's pretty good. That's designed to help combat xerostomia, or dry mouth, which is a considerable problem for a number of individuals for a variety of medical reasons. So that's just an example of some of the commercialization aspects. Some other things that are going on, again, on campus, just to give you a little bit of a smorgasbord of it, in terms of some of the work with autoimmunity and immunology that's going on. Dr. Tracy McGahey has been working with his team, looking at what really is more a study of how women do not reject their fetuses, which is obviously sort of the ultimate immune tolerance of a very foreign object there. But it's also noted that, in fact, those mechanisms may also be useful if they can be applied appropriately for lupus treatment, which is a disease, an autoimmune disease that can be very debilitating. So it would be another aspect of an autoimmune phenomenon that might be combated. Permanent hearing loss is something that afflicts a number of people as a result of drug regimens and other reasons as well. And a particular study by Drs. McKinnon and Iverson have looked at whether there might be efficacy in a particular patient cohort, those being a transplant patient cohort for cochlear implants. And the findings, if they prove out as they seem to, could definitely lead for improved quality of life for many of those individuals. A team of individuals, the lead here, senior is Dr. Rolf Lucas, have looked at stimulation of a particular brain hormone that may, in fact, if it can be appropriately modulated, lead to improvement in the second wave of mortality that can occur with pneumonia. And again, that can be a serious sequela. So it looks like another one of those sort of apparently crossover type findings that may have a lot of application. And then finally, in this venue of investigators, wanted to draw attention to Dr. T.D. Jaja in our College of Nursing, who is looking at genetic links to sickle cell pain management. Pain management for sickle cell individuals is one of the really daily occurrences for those that are severely afflicted and causes very hardship in terms of quality of life. And so being able to manage those in a personalized way, manage that pain, could be very important to them. And interestingly, something we like to see and showcase is he's an example of one who was actually funded initially for this work when he came just a little bit ago by one of our internal funding mechanisms, the Child Health Discovery Institute, and then was able to parlay the results of that initial study into what's now a federally funded program. So hats off to him. Just this morning and then through this afternoon was the culmination of an annual event that's sort of the bridge, I would take it, between research, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some highlights of education, because as you know, our PhD and master's students who really are in the business of not only being educated, but really creating new knowledge along the way through their research with mentors, showcase their events along with postdoctoral fellows who are a bit further along in their education trajectory toward full independence through our annual graduate research day. And it was really a great event. Again, started yesterday with oral presentations by postdocs in that session, and then there were over 100 posters at the Wellness Center this morning, and culminated with a keynote speaker, Dr. Carl Wu. So that was a great event that continues to get larger every year, seems like. Just a few things in terms of the education. We take for granted, I think, many of us, that we are excellent at providing education, and we are. There is no doubt about it. We have many measures that would definitely show that to be true. But it's not something that we can ever take for granted. And so I don't ever want anyone to feel that we think that that's just a given that we don't somehow need to pay attention to. Some of the things that we can show, and not everybody agrees with necessarily the validity of the rankings, but if you have it, you like it, in terms of the rankings of things like U.S. News and World Report. And so we do want to showcase some of the programs in there. And one of the recent rankings, and not every program is ranked every year, so there's a cycle for some of these, and not all programs are ranked, depending on the place. But just wanted to note that the Physician Assistant Program in the College of Allied Health Sciences is now 25th, which is a great showing. Graduate Nursing, that I think I mentioned last time, because it did come out then, is always highly ranked as well. There are a number of those programs in the mix, 450 or so, and they're ranked about 44th, I think, around there. So hats off to both of these. And then there's just an example there of some of the many things that these students and others do in the community, this one being a free vaccine clinic. Another great example of some of the things that we're doing in education, which really feeds in so well with our goal of providing a statewide footprint for delivering advanced and graduate level professional education. We want to have and make even more real throughout the state what we're terming a hub and spoke model for this type of education, and that really means that we believe Augusta and this campus as a main campus should be the hub for these educational programs, but we will extend through a variety of spokes, if you want to envision it that way, out throughout the state, different spokes with different radii depending on the individual program, to satellite campuses, to partnerships, to regional campuses in a variety of ways. And in that way, we can provide the best value for the state and also for the workforce development in those regions. And one of the really great partnerships that actually came to us as a request that we were happy to be able to work with comes from the Medical Center of Central Georgia, which I think has a different name now, but they're up there. They're going through a name change throes like we are. But they had previously had a program that is a few years old, not very though really, that Mercer University had been engaged in for nursing anesthesia, and Mercer decided to exit that space in terms of programmatic goal, and we were approached about whether we could take that on and in fact partner with them, which we were interested in looking at a business model for, certainly. And as it turns out, it really will be what we consider a win-win, because we will be able to increase significantly our number of individuals in the class, per class of nursing anesthesia, and then we will have a cohort that, after taking their didactic training here, will migrate there for the predominance, at least, of their clinical experience back to that center, who's very, anxious to have them in that region. And that will then allow us to graduate more nursing anesthesia graduates into the state, and we, as Georgia Health Sciences University, will be the sole producer of nursing anesthesia graduates, which I think is very appropriate for what our goal is and our mission. Don't know if any of you all got to go to this spectacle or not, but it was a spectacle. It was a show, and it was loud, and it was fun. This is Match Day, which is a tradition not just here, but at many medical schools across the country, because it's on this day that all the fourth-year students find out where they will be spending their next few years as in their residency. And so loud, lots of music, everybody had personalized, their favorite, I guess, childhood, hero or something. And the, most interesting thing I think about it is just looking and thinking, any one of those could be delivering your health care in the next few years. Just think about it. That's wonderful. We wanted also to give hats off to the College of Dental Medicine. They've recently undergone an accreditation. CODA is the SACS, the JCO, the LCME, basically all of those kind of major accrediting bodies for dental education. And so it was their time for them to come and do a deep dive on our dental program. And we kind of knew they'd probably be impressed by the new building. Kind of hard not to be, but they looked at many other things as well and were very impressed with that and many aspects, not just the physical facilities. They also were the same, and that really should be noted here for dental hygiene, which was done at the same time. So congratulations to them. And now we have patient care.
I'm going to step back in then and do patient care, facilities, and finances, and then a little bit of the shaping our future, and then hand it off to Dr. Caughman again. We'll then expect great questions from you. So this is your advance notice. You have to think up great questions for us, and if they're especially hard, then Dr. Caughman said she would answer them. So first, on the patient care arena, the health system has again received an acknowledgement here of our progress. This is a poll or survey of 3,000 different hospitals in the different zip code areas across the nation, and for our area, we've been acknowledged here as the #1 hospital amongst consumers. We have not had this award, a #1 position, since 2005. So I think it just demonstrates the kinds of things that we're doing across Georgia that are also being recognized here in this region. So great accomplishment there. Yes, please, standing applause. Well done. How come? Because we have great people, but we also have some great technology. This is an example of some of the minimally invasive techniques that we are using that also are now combined with imaging. So we have a whole room that's dedicated to this, where they can thread a catheter inside you up into your brain. If you have a clot, it can be visualized, and not only that, we can visualize what's right past the clot, so that then we know the best way to treat it by removing it without causing further damage. In fact, having people walk out on their own 2 feet within 24 hours. So this now almost turns it into an outpatient procedure. So it's really a breakthrough technology. We're the only one in Georgia to have it, one of 3 in the nation. So that's how advanced this technology is right here in your own backyard. Another kind of catheter to consider is this one, and this is if people need to have big amounts of fluids and or antibiotics pushed inside them, called central lines. When these are put inside patients, you now, while you may have access to better medications, as an example, you are now more prone to infection. And in this case, we have driven our number of infections down to 0.32. As you can see on the screen, all hospitals in Georgia, the median is 0.55, so we're below the median there. And the CDC says a year from now they want people to be at 0.50, so we're already below that. We want to drive it as close to zero as possible, but it only happens because of the great work people are doing as a team. Between the house staff, the attendings, nurses, pharmacy, epidemiologists, it's just a great team effort to work with the patients in such a way that we keep them safe, and obviously great patient care. Bone marrow transplant program, again, we were accredited for another 3 years, and the highlight here isn't that we're accredited, although that's the accomplishment itself, but the highlight that I wanted to flag was the unified efforts piece, that again, this doesn't happen just by hematology oncology as a team, but think of the broader team of nursing, surgery, rad-onc, blood bank, etc. This is hundreds of people working together in a highly choreographed way that produces results like this, not only as an accreditation and an acknowledgement for quality, but as you would suspect, for great patient care. So great team accomplishment there. By the way, many more things happening, but we only have time to flag a few. So we'll move on to facilities and just share a couple of things with you there. Hospital footprint, we have an old physical plant built in the 50s that has been updated and renovated several times, but it was never originally designed to be energy efficient. And yet here we are with an Energy Star designation, which means we're in the top 25% of all buildings in the U.S., and the only hospital in Georgia to receive this designation. How did that happen? Well, how it happened was because as a team, people are managing energy utilization in such a way that on a per square foot basis, we're showing up as one of the top performers. So it's a great accomplishment there. Related to that is we have Earth Day coming up in April, and there we want to be focusing more and more on reducing our carbon footprint. So every supply we use, transportation uses, etc., we want to be rethinking that. So the green team wants your involvement. We'll be sending out some push emails with more information on it, but the formal day of celebration there is Friday, April 20th from 10 to 12. So more to be said about that, but again, energy and conservation come together. And then maybe, Dr. Caughman, if you would say a couple words about the Gilbert Manor.
Yes, this, again, are a couple of shots from a dedication that was held a few weeks ago. It really was making good on a promise to make a permanent marker in memory and commemoration of really two things. The first was to commemorate the sacrifice, and it was a sacrifice, of the individuals who relocated from their homes, some of which they had been in for generations, in the Gilbert Manor housing complex. It had been first built in its first iteration in the 40s, and so it had been there a long time. And in their moving and the city's arrangement, it was through that process that we were able to have that parcel of land, a very critical one in our footprint because of its location, and that being now where the first of a number of buildings we expect to build on that site is the College of Dental Medicine. And so at that time we had said that we wanted to commemorate that in some permanent way, that people could go and sit and reflect and relax amidst the day. And also, in addition to commemorating those occupants of the housing complex, to also remember the person for whom that complex was built initially, and that's John Wesley Gilbert, who was the first graduate of Payne University, a leader in this community, and really much further afield than that. And so if you haven't had an opportunity, I urge you to go see that and drop by and visit it for a few minutes.
Thank you very much. And then just a quick preview for you on a facility yet to be unveiled. This is on the first floor of the hospital in the West Wing, and it's behind a door that's not even labeled. But I had a chance to walk through it late last week, so we had Phil take some pictures of this so we could post them for you. And it's designed as an executive health, say a little high-end hoteling-like venue that would be comfortable for executives. Think about CEOs, VIPs. They want personalized health care. They're willing to pay for it out of pocket. to the tune of $2,500 or more, where they can spend a better part of the day with us in a setting such as this and receive some personalized attention with our staff, meaning both physicians, clinicians, and ancillary staff providing testing in different ways and feedback in different ways. So we are going to cater to that personnel instead of having people go into Atlanta or other metropolitan cities for this region and the better part of the state. We are open for business shortly, and any of you that want to nominate some of those VIPs that should come through here, pay for the services, but even more than that, at some point, you can imagine them thinking about being so happy with the services they receive, they want to make a philanthropic contribution to underwrite aspects of our research and education and patient care. There is a connection here that we want to make with the clientele that we would serve. So that's coming your way soon. Finances, Dr. Caughman, you've been asking me since the last time we were together in the town hall, which did show the health system finances to be pretty far off budget to the tune of about a minus $4 million. You've been asking about that. We know that the university finances must break even, so we aren't going to show those because we're managing those expenses as tightly as possible. But the health system ones are the ones that actually are much more dynamic and subject to radical moves and have to be managed with rigor and discipline also. So let me show you what we've accomplished here, which is by virtue of the teams working together. If you read this doesn't have the equation, yes, it does. On the bottom, it says GHS Medical Center, so that's Georgia Health Sciences Medical Center. If you add that component to the Georgia Health Sciences Medical Associates, that's the physician's practice plan, those two things add up to the bars on your right, which is the health system economics. And what we're portraying here is the margin or bottom line after 7 months, so the end of January. We now have 7 months, and it looks very different than it did when we last were together in October and early November. So what this portrays is that we, in fact, if you look all the way to the right, our margin, that blue bar on the right-hand side, is $8.3 million to the positive, which is very good. We thought at this point in time we would be at that middle bar, $8.5 million. So you can see we're almost spot on there. And last year at this same time, at the end of January, we were performing at $8.8 million. The $8.8 million was higher, but let me tell you what's misleading about that is we had anywhere between $11 and $14 million of state and federal funding that was inside that number, which we no longer have. So you can see that even with those headwinds, by removing those funds, we're performing exceedingly well. And again, that's because of the teams working together, I think, in incredible ways to produce these kind of economic results. What are we going to do with this if we continue? We're going to reinvest it back in our programs and our staff and faculty. We don't pay shareholders with this, so that's why we need robust financial earnings so that we can continue to grow and serve the citizens of Georgia. How did that happen? Two different levers. One of them is supply chain, so we've been reducing anywhere we can our spend of supplies and purchase services that we paid outside vendors. The left-hand bar, we set 3-year targets last year. What would we do in FY12, which we're showing you right now? What would happen in FY13 as we forecast out, and what do we need to hit by 14? The red bar, that red line, is the target that we set for ourselves that we wanted to remove of our spend. So that's the way to read that. And basically in FY12 you can see we're almost at that target. We're $1 million shy. We're implementing pieces of this, but what we want that bar to look like is that we've filled it by the end of June, that we've actually hit our target. But more importantly, because we're looking at a 3-year window, that sets us up well for FY13. We want to hold that spend out, and we want to continue to reduce, so we have a higher target, because the bar does raise because of the environment we're headed into. And so we still have a gap. People are already working on that gap. Hundreds of people across campus, some of you that are linking into us online. It's all about managing our spend in a different way. So we're going to accomplish that by this kind of work, and then it sets us up well for FY14.
And that is across the entire enterprise.
Thank you very much. This is not just health system in this case. This also includes the entire enterprise. Then we have the labor portion of this. As many of you know, we did a reduction in force, unfortunate, at the end of the first quarter last year. We want to not repeat that, right? Nobody wants to do a reduction in force. So how do we manage that with rigor and discipline? Well, you make sure that attrition and turnover, people seeking new jobs, retirement, other lifetime events, that as people depart, what you want to do is manage that in a particular way where you stretch people, redeploy people, re-engineer processes where you don't need as many people, and backfill selectively. That way you can hit this 3-year progression. The way to read this, though, is during the first year, FY12 that we're in, we actually exceeded that red line. We closed down a lot of vacancies as well as the reduction in force. So that actually put us above target, which sets us up very well for 13 and 14. And again, to the degree we manage turnover and attrition, we should be able to hit those targets. So that's what everybody is working on, rethinking and performing together. Shaping our future, let me say a few things and then ask Dr. Caughman to weigh in. How many of you want portable electronic health records that you have access to wherever you are? And if you want your caregiver to have access to it, you want to provide your caregiver that access. How many of you would like that? Very good. Most of you, yes. So we are on the leading edge here. We formed a different corporation, again, with Central Georgia Medical Center in Macon, where we invested to form this separate company, separate board. But we're using technology where every night we're uploading our electronic health records from both of us and our physicians into this electronic repository that people can have access to coming your way soon, to be able to see what does my record look like and can I have access to that. The answer will be yes. But more importantly, what we want to do, by the way, this is what the record looks like electronically, and your caregiver has this kind of view of it. But if you think more futuristically, it's not just the 2 hospitals and physicians and medical staffs. We want to be a part of that. We want to start linking in local pharmacies or pharmacy chains, other physicians' practices, long-term care facilities, or dentists. We want to be able to upload that so you have a much more robust electronic health record of all your care delivery needs that have been performed. So that's the intent here that we're working on. And again, we're one of the leaders here. I serve on the States Commission to spin up health information exchanges, and we're actually ahead of what the state is trying to do here. So coming to your neighborhood soon. TEDMed, if any of you have heard about TED, this is the medicine version of TEDMed. And in April, if you so choose, you can pay $5,000, fly to D.C., get a very expensive hotel, and pay a lot of money to attend TED in person. That's one option. Option 2 is that we are going to stream this into at least this campus, and now that we have online, I think people will actually be able to tap into it, but we'll actually check that out. But then we'll probably set it up in this room and the auditorium center so that we can push out the agenda for the 3-day event. If you want to attend any part of it, you can go sit in and have access to it that way with $0. So a lot less expensive option, if you want to participate in and listen in to TEDNet. And with that, Dr. Caughman, bring us home.
Thank you. So probably this particular diagram looks fairly familiar, at least I hope to most of you. It's the architecture that we built and then have been following as a path toward our strategic planning overarching process. You'll recall that if you look at what we were able to use to inform our plan, there were a number of different sources. One of those listed here was the 8-year vision. This was what the president early on was asked to provide. First, the chancellor asked him what he saw as his vision for our institution and for health care education in the state of Georgia, and then subsequently the governor also became very interested in what that vision would be and has been very responsive to his vision that is becoming, I think, embraced even more so as we see that play out. And so that, along with, you remember we had an enterprise-wide vision, mission, and values engagement where we actually created a new set, a common set now, of those for all 3 of our enterprises where we had all previously had great mission and vision and value statements, but they weren't inconsistent with each other, but they weren't alike. They weren't one. And so we were able to make a common set that spoke and resonated with all of us. And so that was important. And then we've been going along down this path so that we could at least at first define where we wanted to be as an enterprise so that then that could inform the plans underlying that and the way that we're actually going to go about accomplishing that ambitious plan. Recall too then that always the purpose of a strategic plan is not the exercise itself. That is interesting, and certainly you learn a lot. It's a self-discovery kind of thing as well. But if it's a plan that sits on the shelf, then it's a failure, because the whole idea is that it's used as a roadmap and also as a self-check to see how we're doing, to use it to check back against, to close that loop in terms of performance and how we can improve, whether in fact the plan needs a little bit of truing up, maybe it's a little bit different than what our future really holds, and so we need to think about that. So it's always a dynamic process and a back and forth or a circular process of performance improvement against it. The first stage of that, and it was a large stage, has actually come to fruition in the document, which is available online. It looks like a great e-publication, the pages turn, and that kind of thing, or you can download it as a PDF and print it off as well. And it is what we're terming Transformation 2020. That was the overarching name for the initiative of the strategic plan, and this is the result. And it really then represents that high-level strategic priorities, goals, objectives, but not the tactics, not how we're actually going to accomplish it. So we're not done, even in the planning process. We're through that top arrow, so we've gotten to the end of that pretty much on our schedule. But now we have to build out the nested set of arrows, because each of those represents the next layer of planning and the ways that we will map how we'll accomplish the goals, each layer then feeding back into the top structure so that we're all rowing in the same direction. The next one then is what we're calling mission specific, that they're not siloed. You know, we always have to think cross-missionally, but we will be now in teams that will think specifically about how the educational mission will be enacted, how patient care will roll out, how research is going to be. And that then will be informative to the colleges, to the different units as they speak and build their specific plan. So everything, you know, it's I won't say dominoes or a house of cards, because that sounds like something's going to fall down, and nothing is going to fall down in this process, but they are very dependent on each other. And then finally, the support units are critical. What kind of IT strategic plan is it going to require? What about finances? What about facilities? All that has to interact and be very integrated in order for us to succeed. So I'm excited about the way that is shaping up, and thanks very much to everybody who spent really an awful lot of time. Many of you I know were involved in that, and if you weren't, stay tuned, because there are more opportunities to be involved. This just is a reminder, and I think you've already gotten a reminder. Hopefully some of you have already even gone in and taken that, and if you have, provide feedback to the folks involved. But Healthy Perspectives is the tagline for our Cultural Competency initiative. It really was born out of a SACS accreditation requirement for a quality enhancement plan, which is aimed at improving student learning outcomes. But we quickly realized that cultural competency was something that, as an enterprise, we embraced as a core value. And so in order to train students, we kind of all need to have a certain basic level of competency in that area as well. And so it's just a taste, really, because it is just the beginning. We want everyone, and that does mean everyone in this entire enterprise, to go online and to do the first module. I did it as well as the others in the leadership team as sort of the guinea pig testers. And even though I am not a clinician, it was very informative, very interesting, useful to me. And so I hope you find it that as well. This is, again, coming out of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, which is sort of the home for the coordinating center for this, and really under the direction of Pam Witter. And so I appreciate all the efforts that went there. Last couple of slides are going to be on the consolidation. I know that might be something you thought a little bit about and wondered what's going on. In fact, there is a fairly robust process building out. It's early days. We don't have a lot of answers yet, but we know that we will get them along the way, and there are lots of people that are spending significant time in their, like after hours in addition to their full-time jobs, trying to figure out what the connection points are, what the points that need to be synergized or reconciled among the two different universities, because at the end of this, I truly believe we have the opportunity, and we will make good on it, to be a really great university. It's going to take the best of what we are, the best of what ASU is, and make it better than the sum of those parts. I really believe we're in a unique position. Really, in my lifetime, I don't expect to be involved at least in another one of this nature. And it's going to be something that really can be great for this community and for the state, as well as for us as individuals in this organization. So how we're doing this, the Consolidation Working Group, if you recall, the Chancellor of the University System charged a group like this for each of the 4 consolidation pairs, because remember there are 8 institutions that are going to become 4, and so there are 4 groups. This is an equal membership kind of 20-person council, an oversight group, if you will, in that it has representatives from ASU and faculty and students and staff and alumni and foundation, and there's community leaders, and the same thing for us. And so this gets together. We met last night for a couple of hours and really looked at all the work that's been done more or less by the worker bees, which if you back up, the presidents, of course, are being the decision node, so to speak. Everything flows through them. But the Consolidation Action Team is the group that's 8 people, again, half and half from each of the institutions, that really is serving as the nexus for sort of a command center for what are now 50. There used to be 35, and they kind of growing. I hope we're at the end of that soon, because it's getting pretty complicated. But these work teams that really are addressing functional areas. There are places, and that's why we kind of keep growing, because we keep thinking, oh, yeah, we need to address this. We need to think about that. That will allow us to examine carefully the commonalities, the differences, and the ways that, again, we'll harmonize to function as one university. We're not going to be just 2 universities that kind of sort of smush together and continue to operate separately. Not going to happen. We will be one university in all intents and purposes. The timeline for that, which you may have seen, and if not, I urge you to go. There's information out on the consolidation website. It's one that's linked from each of the home sites, the institutions, but it's not on either of those. It's asughsu.org. And what you see there is in fall of 13, the charge by the Board of Regents is that we will be one institution. In order to do that, you back up against some hard deadlines very quickly. And those first would be that we need to hit a deadline for SACS, because that's one of the major things. SACS has to review a prospectus, which is a fairly lengthy document that will document our readiness and prove in certain ways that we have thought out some of these things that we're all engaged in trying to examine and then solve, that we're ready to function as one institution. The deadline for their December meeting, the Commission on Colleges, which is a subgroup that will meet and decide that, they meet in June and December. We have to hit the December one. Deadline for the prospectus is October 1st, So that will be of this year that we will be sending that forward. When, I won't say if, but when, SAC says you are good to go, great job, you're ready to go be one university, we have 30 days in which to enact that. It doesn't mean that every system has to be common, that everything has to work as one, but it does mean that the storefront, so to speak, of the university, the face, and all of that needs to be one new university. And I don't know what the name will be, so don't ask me that. It's coming. There's a work team on that, but they are shrouded in a cone of silence, and it's, very hush-hush. But actually the Board of Regents has asked that in July, which is when they will meet to consider the names for all of them, that we provide 3 names because they're going to choose. So that's just a little bit of what's going on in that arena. Lastly, when I finish strong, I feel like I'm on a marathon. I don't know about you, and I also feel like pretty much every time we get sort of toward the end, a new deadline appears way further out. But we're on a great journey, and I appreciate everybody's work in that arena, and wanted just to show a couple of, again, sort of people highlights that I think is very cool. One is that in our half marathon, the Augusta Half Marathon, which is a really well-subscribed event, we actually had a medical student who came in first, Thomas Johnson. And
obviously a man.
Yes, I will say, he won the men's category. He was faster than everybody else. He did 3 and almost a half minutes faster. But the really cool thing is that the second place person was a woman, which I think is cool, but also she was a student here, dental student, and also just a girl from around the block and being a student from Greenbrier. And so we're really proud of those folks, as we are of everybody at this institution. Thank you so much. And now it's your turn.
Very good. So we'll take questions. Thanks for sticking in there so far with us. Do we have any online also? You can troll through those and see, but how about here in the room? Questions? Please. Yes.
I understand that the Board of Regents will start in July, but I think before that,
the question is, even though I said don't ask it, Dr. Ballas is going to anyway, which is when we will at least know the choices of the names. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I know that the consolidation and working group will probably get 6 names to choose from, maybe a month before that. I anticipate there'll be some kind of vetting, but I don't know that. So for sure, I'm not sure if they just want to, send it up and it's all secret and they just bless the one they want or not. Great. Cool. That's great. Oh, sorry. I just yelled. That's great.
And can we ask what the age group was?
Yeah. Great job. I didn't know that she had.
Very good. Other questions, please.
Let me ask, there was plans for a women's health center. Is that been dropped, or is still someone planning on
so the question was, there were plans for a women's health center. Where is that now inside our current thinking or our future strategic plans? So some of that would be yet to be clarified or fleshed out. If we go back to those arrows that Dr. Caughman was walking through, that's where we would have to make those different decisions about continue or not. I would proffer that part of the work that we've put forward on the patient care side or the clinical side currently has been of the order of not being all things to all people. And we've been running that thought experiment over the past few months. And I think there's pretty widespread acceptance for that. And if you just follow that line of thought, having a prototypical women's health center would not be one of those things that we would want to build in because it would be duplicating what already exists in the area and in the region. However, having said that, if you think from a care delivery point of view, what are we uniquely designed for? We can service high-risk OB in different complex diseases that women experience. And you could also then think of the linkages into the pediatric world of women and children's, some of the robotic surgery and the urogynecology surgery. Those are all new programs that would be aligned with more of a complex area of care that I think we're probably better suited for. So that's my guess of how that will probably work its way through. But again, I need many more people than myself and Dr. Caughman to work this through together and clarify it. Other questions? Any online? They're very, I'm interested in the gun too.
I think the online people
We're going to send you a virtual piece online. Yes, we have. The executive health?
Yeah, executive health.
Will it be, no, won't be ready that week. Unfortunately, next year we will be ready for executive health. But if you have somebody who wants to be an alpha tester during that week that has, you know, a couple $100 million, we would not turn it
that is a naming issue too, actually.
That would handle
the naming opportunity.
Any of you who have $100 million or more will do it. Other questions? Okay, well then hearing none, a couple of reminders. We'll send out a thank you to you. And if you would also take the survey that will be on a link and give us feedback. We're going to do this 3 times a year. This is the first, so we'll do one sometime late summer and another one in the fall or late fall. But we'll design it based on your feedback, so we appreciate hearing from you. Thanks for attending. And then make sure those of you that are here in person, get your gum on the way out. Online, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, and have a great weekend.